Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me. I see someone raised the hand, and my colleague can, if my colleague can allow the person to speak. So I will start with the presentation. Today we will discuss about, we have some slides to present a bit more in detail and to explain the intervention logic. As you can see, all the questions, and you can put them in Slido. This is the Slido code that you can use if you enter from the browser. However, WebEx has a Slido already embedded in the software, so you can use the WebEx Slido also. We will talk today about, I will insist more on the definition of the output and results indicators and some differences compared to the ongoing program and to the for those who participated in the current program. I will start by presenting some new elements that we have in the Danube Region program. We will no longer use work packages. Each project should define up to 3 specific objectives. And for those who have been in the morning, it was quite an extensive presentation on this topic. And all the activities are linked to the specific objectives. We think that this is much more easy and much more straightforward, because when someone is defining what is my objective, it's absolutely much easier to link the activities to it than to create these artificial work packages, which sometimes it's difficult to place an activity in one or the other. In the current program, each output indicator at program level defined in the program is linked to a result indicator, which means that the projects will define their own output and results, and then will link them to the output and result indicators of the program. And this we will explain a bit later. Another thing that we would like to highlight, even though in GEMS, in the first step, it is not requested, so in the expression of interest, you do not have to define deliverables, but for the second step, of course, we will ask for them. The concept will be a bit different because we consider that deliverables are more milestones. So we are not expecting, like in the past, to include every minute of the meeting and every minor thing that is achieved by the project. Some terminology clarifications. A project should define, as you've seen also in the expression of interest, a main objective and up to 3 specific objectives. The project main objective describes the strategic and long-term change that the project would like to achieve, and the specific objective describes the immediate effects of implementing the activities and achieving the outputs of the project. We would like to give you some hints here, and especially first to define the concrete needs and challenges of the project. For example, there is a strong dependency on fossil energy carriers, low share of renewable energy in the region. These are just examples. It can be on any specific objective. Afterwards, to define the main objective that is linked to the predefined challenges, already defined needs and challenges. For example, to support the diversification of energy sources. And afterwards, you define up to 3 specific objectives to which you will further link the activities. The project activities and project deliverables are quite straightforward. An activity will always describe the specific task to be performed by the partners. Here we would like to ask that in the application form, each activity is described very clearly, and also the partners involved in the implementation of activity should be also named in the application form. What is in GEMS and what's presented in the morning is that there is a limited number of characters for the description of the activities. which is 1,000 characters, but we allow the applicants to define as many activities as they consider necessary in order to have a clear picture of the project work plan. So now it's no longer a limitation to 5 activities, but for each specific objective, you may define more activities in order to show how you will reach those objectives. Some further considerations. As I said before, deliverables are requested in the second step and should be outcomes that are more meaningful in the project. Like, for example, some country reports or a milestone or a step without which the output would have not been achieved. A project result reflects the immediate advantage of carrying out the project and is telling us what is the benefit of using the main outputs that have been developed. And the project result can be captured by the program result indicator. The output, project output, tells us what exactly has been achieved with the money that we are paying to the project. As an example of project outputs, as also in the past, it's strategies, pilot actions. In this programming period, and I will explain a bit later, the pilot actions are testing of potential solutions developed by the project. Also, a solution like methodologies, IT tool, platforms, management plans. These are all examples of project outputs. We will discuss output indicator and result indicator as they are coupled in the project. First, I will start with the mandatory output indicator and result indicator. This has to be selected by all the projects. Without this indicator, the projects are not going to be considered eligible. This is the output indicator organizations cooperating across borders. It is actually a rather straightforward indicator because it counts the number of project partners and associated strategic partners involved in the application form. So as many partners as you have to count them, including organization-wise, including the associated strategic partners. One important thing is that you are counting, as I said before, legal entities. And if you have different departments of the same university or the same institution involved in the project, you have to count only the university and not the separate departments. So you are going to count only one, not several times. For example, a project involves 10 partners or 10 partner organizations in a partnership and 4 associated strategic partners. If inside the project there is also assigned a memorandum of understanding with third parties, with stakeholders, these are also going to be counted because there is also a formalized cooperation. So if a memorandum of understanding will be signed with 20 additional organizations, so different than the ones involved in the partnership, then formally the number of organizations formally cooperating will be the sum of partner plus ASPs plus the institution signing the memorandum of understanding. Therefore, the amount will be 34, as it is explained here. And this is how it should be counted in case of all these indicators. We know that there are rather few projects that have this formalized memorandum of understanding. Therefore, in general, the lead applicant should count the number of partners and ASPs. The result indicator linked to this output indicator is organizations with increased institutional capacity. In these organizations, we are going to consider only the partners and the ASPs. And therefore, the target value for this result indicator in this situation will be 14 because we have 10 partners and 4 ASPs institutions. Some further considerations in relation to the result indicators. As I said before, this is measuring the number of organizations that actively participated in cooperation activities. And when it is linked to the organization cooperating across borders, so when it is linked to the output indicator 87, then it refers to the partners and the ASPs. Then these organizations will be counted if they have undergone a learning process. We assume that all the partners are going through a learning process throughout the project implementation. Therefore, in this situation, it's much easier. We will see later that to this result indicator, also the joint pilot actions can be connected to. And in this situation, the target value, when it is connected to the joint pilot action, the target value will be the number of organizations that are involved in the pilot action. And due to the implementation of the pilot action, they are increasing their capacity, and then we will have an example later on. We will move forward to output indicator, which is measuring participations in joint action promoting gender equality, equal opportunities, and social inclusions, which is linked to result indicator participations in joint actions across borders after project completions. These indicators are only applicable to specific objectives 3.1 and 3.2, which are dealing with labor markets and education. In this indicator, it is counting the number of participations in joint activities, like joint exchange visit, joint study visit. Here, we are not including public events. So public events are not considered joint activities. Of course, these joint activities have to have a focus on addressing horizontal principles of gender equality, equal opportunities, and social inclusions. The result indicator has to be realistically considered. For example, if we are estimating that during the project we might have 100 participations, maybe after project completion, not all 100 will continue, but only a third or two or half of them, or it is up to the partners to estimate how many of these participations will continue. For example, a project organizes a study visit for addressing horizontal principles of gender equality, equal opportunities, and social inclusions. As project output, it is estimated that it will be 50 participants in the joint exchange visit. This project output is linked, of course, to the output indicator RCO 82. And then the defined result is participants in the joint exchange visit after the project completion, and I estimated 30. And this is linked to the result indicator. We will move forward to strategies and action plans jointly developed, which is linked to the result indicator, joint strategies and action plans taken up by organizations. A joint strategy and action plan, it is to be considered if it is developed by the project. So in this period, we are not going to consider as output indicator the revision of or update of existing strategies, action plans, and these will not be counted here. It doesn't mean that there cannot be an activity that is doing a revision in case the project has a focus to develop, for example, a solution and other elements, not the strategy itself. So revision is possible, but this revision should never be linked to the output strategy. In case a strategy is developed by the project and based on that also the action plans are developed within the same project, these are to be counted separately for this indicator. For example, a joint strategy is developed by 7 partners from 7 countries. This will be counted as one. And if an action plan for each country will be developed, then this will be the target value will be 7 because there are 7 countries involved in the partnership. The result indicator means that the elaborated strategy action plan is endorsed and applied by its target group, and the implementation of at least of certain parts of the strategy and action plan already starts during the project implementation or until the deadline of submission of the final progress report. 3 months after the project end. So we are expecting that these strategies are not only produced, but also their practical implementation starts during the project or latest 3 months after the project implementation closure. At the time of the reporting of this indicator, the implementation of the joint strategy or action plan does not necessarily need to be completed, but it has to be effectively started. It is not necessary that the implementation of the strategy action plan is fully finalized in order to count the indicator. And together with the final progress report, the lead partner will provide the MHS with the time span of strategy action plan implementation, a timetable that should cover at least 1 year after the project end, because this is one of the indicators that again is measured up to 1 year after the project ends. As an example, for example, a project is developing a transnational strategy for energy diversification with a target of 1, which is linked to the output indicator, strategies and action plans jointly developed. And for the result indicator, it is obvious that it is one strategy that has to be implemented in practice and taken up by organizations. What we are expecting here is that the applicant shall only describe the result and connect it to the output indicator. So it shall describe how this how the project result is contributing to the output indicator of the program, meaning that how the, for example, the lead applicant, how it will plan to implement in practice the strategy, to convince the stakeholder to uptake it into their daily work. So here we are expecting an explanation and not a definition of the result, because this is actually defined already. Now we are going to the output indicators related to pilot actions and to jointly develop solutions. And why we treat this together is because in this period, in order to report a solution as output in the project, this solution has to be piloted, meaning that it has to be tested. If the solution is not piloted, then it should not be considered an output. In this case, they are always going to come together. So if you are selecting the jointly developed solutions, then you always have to select the pilot actions. It doesn't mean that a solution can always stem from a pilot action. Maybe due to following the testing, a partnership realizes that this is not the solution. Therefore, there will be no output indicator. The pilot actions are linked to the organizations with increased institutional capacity. And as I said before, this is because it is considered that the organizations involved in the testing of different solutions are actually also increasing their capacity in certain sectors, in certain fields, and this is due to participation in the transnational project. The jointly developed solutions output is linked to solutions taken up or upscaled by organizations. It has the same principle as in case of the strategies. We are expecting that the solution is not only produced, but it is also it's also taken into the daily work of different stakeholders or project partners. For example, one project is developing a tool for monitoring the water quality on the Danube. It's just a hypothetical example. This potentially is a solution, but the project has to pilot it or test it. And only if its feasibility is demonstrated in practice, then it will be reported as achieved solution. For example, we assume that the solution is tested in 5 pilot areas. During the piloting, 5 institutions per pilot area is involved, and therefore the target value of the result indicator, institutions with increased capacity, will be 25, 5 institutions which are in 5 pilot areas. Some further consideration in relation to pilot actions. A pilot action actually has an experimental nature, and it's testing, as I said before, innovative products, methodologies, tools, or demonstrates the practical applicability of different tools and solutions that are potentially developed by the project. In order to be counted under this indicator, the pilot action needs not only to be developed, but also needs to be implemented within the project, and the implementation of the pilot action should be finalized by the end of the project. And carrying out the project activities in a certain pilot area without testing or demonstrating a solution is not considered a pilot action and should not be counted under this indicator. A jointly developed solution output indicator, in order to be counted in the indicator, an identified solution should include indications of the actions needed for it to be taken up by the target group or to be upscaled. And each developed solution shall be counted only once under the respective output indicator. What does it mean that the solution should contain the indications? We will ask the lead partners of the approved projects that when the solution as output is reported, then also here the lead partner should provide a plan on how the solution will be implemented in practice, either within the partners in the project or within the institutions of the stakeholders of the project. For the solution taken up or upscaled by organizations, this indicator counts solutions that are used by at least one organization within or outside the partnership, as I said before. The solution should be used either by an organization that was not using it before the project, or by an organization that was already using it before the project and will now extend the plan duration or increase the scale. We have another output indicator, which is projects supporting cooperation across borders to develop urban-rural linkages. This is a standalone output indicator as it counts number of projects. It's applicable only to the governance-specific objective 4.2. And here, only projects submitted under 4.2, if they have in the scope the development of urban-rural linkages, should select this indicator and always put the target value of 1. This was the presentation, and now I will stop sharing so I can see the questions and answers. So the first question is if the presentation will be given. Yes, the presentation and the recording will be available on the website. Yes, all the first questions are in relation to this. The first question, do associated strategic partners need to be included in the expression of interest? Can the ASP be also hired as external experts? No. So associated strategic partners, yes, should be included actually in the expression of interest, because we are assessing the partnership and they are bringing an added value to the partnership. Therefore, both project partner and ASPs have to be listed. And no, ASPs should not be hired as external experts, or the partners should not subcontract themselves. It is actually illegal. Furthermore, since ASPs are also reimbursing travel and accommodation costs for their participation into project meetings. The following question, RCO 87 will be linked to only one SO and not split between SOs. Thank you. Just a second. You can actually define for each specific objective. Yes, actually, if you have, you can define the RCO 87, which is organization cooperating across border, in one specific objective for the ones that are related to the organizations cooperating after the project end. But you can also have it under another specific objective when you are piloting solutions. because to this indicator, to the result indicator, there will be always two, pilot solution and RCO87. Yes, so the answer to the question, yes, RCO87 will be linked to one. Only the result indicator can be linked to more specific objective. Can the DOO be lead partner? As we also said in the morning, we are strongly advising to check with the national contact points if your organization is eligible to be project partner or lead partner. An already developed strategy requiring revision and updates as part of a proposal can be included as project output? No. As I said before, an already developed strategy should not be counted as an output, only the newly developed strategies. You can have an activity where you are revising the strategy if it's necessary for the implementation of the rest of the project activities, but it should not be counted as an output. It's only a mere activity that is necessary to achieve the project result and to achieve the project effect. Does solution piloting means that the pilots do not need to be specified in advance, and if yes, to what extent? In this situation, we are requesting, and also in the current ongoing program, that there should be a certain level of definition of the pilot. At least in some of the cases, we understood that it's not always, this cannot always be defined in detail. However, the applicant can estimate how many pilots, in which environment it will be piloted. So some general information should be provided also for the pilot, because it's a basis for assessment. We're not expecting a very, very in-depth definition of the activity of piloting. This can be also defined during the project implementation. Someone says it's too many information in short time. So I can speak slower. Then what are the RCO, RCR, and IC? RCO is an output indicator, as I presented. Unfortunately, I cannot share and read the questions at the same time. An RCR is a result indicator, and an ICI, it is a result indicator, and it reflects institutional with increased capacity. These are in the applicant's manual. Now I will share again the presentation and show you again. So in the program, we have output indicators, which now are marked with the RCO, and we have result indicators, which are from the regulation, and these are marked with RCR. So this is the result indicator. And we have this result indicator, ICI, which is organizations with increased institutional capacity. These are the names that are given in the regulation, and it's taken from the regulation. Your projects can choose to contribute to one, or it's actually mandatory to contribute to at least two program output indicator. Organizations cooperating across the border is the mandatory one, and you can choose another one. In the moment you choose the output indicator, automatically you have to choose also the result indicator. Now I have to stop sharing to see the rest of the questions. For the management activities, where the description should be inserted in the EOI. In the EOI, we are not requesting a description of the management activities. Only the management budget should be included in the activities budget. So the management is part of the activities budget. only in the full application form, there will be a section dedicated to management activities, which is more of a summary. It's not defined each activity as it is in the ongoing program. Then what is the difference between ICI and RCR? There is no difference, only that RCR is the result indicator as in the regulation, and ICI is result indicator which is not in the regulation but is defined by Interact together with transnational programs. But they are both result indicators. If I understood correctly, up to 2 more specific SOs can be included in the proposal, apart from the compulsory one. No, you can choose as many indicators as you have listed for each specific objective. So you can choose all indicators of a specific objective. SOs are actually specific objectives of your project. So in your project, you have to define up to 3 specific objectives. To each specific objective, you are defining the activities, and this activity will lead to the development of certain outputs that you have to link to output indicators and to certain results that you have to link to certain result indicators. I hope it was clear. If not, then also you can raise the hand and you can ask questions after we finish this set by talking. It is recommended to have a balance between the number of project partners and ASP partners. No, we never recommend to have such a balance. First of all, we recommend to have a balance in the partnership representation for each country, but ASPs should be brought in for their added value for the project. For example, a ministry that is absolutely important to take on the policy, some policy recommendations, but doesn't want to participate as project partner, can be involved as ASP. We never expect a balance that if we have 8 project partners, there should be 8 ASPs. From some countries, it can be that is 0 ASPs because, for example, the policy level is actually involved as partners, in the partners as partner, directly finance partner. And in some countries, there are 1 or 2 ASPs, which represent absolutely relevant institutions. Is there any mandatory documents from project partners that should be uploaded in EOI? No. Only the expression of interest has to be submitted through GEMS. There is no additional document that has to be uploaded. Yes. Then we have another question. Pilots may only result a solution, or they may also end up in strategies or action plans as well. No, a pilot can only result in a solution, not in a strategy or action plan. For specific objectives and activities, do you have a leader like it used to be a work package leader? If it depends on your how the partnership is deciding to do the management of the project, you can propose to have a partner that takes over the leadership of certain activities. But what we are interested is to see which partners are involved in which activities. So this is what we're interested. It's up to you to decide if you give the leadership of the entire specific objective to one partner, or if you are focusing on individual activities. How many outputs do you recommend? 1 or 2 per specific objective? It is up to the project. It can be that if one specific objective can have 1 output, which is the strategy, one can have 2 outputs, a solution, a pilot, and then it can have also another specific objective, the output of organization cooperating across borders. So it is up to the partnership, but we recommend to keep the project focused, as we also do in the current program. Is it possible to develop a conceptual design with a project as a solution to be taken up, scaled by other organizations in the near future? I don't understand. I don't know if I understand exactly what is the question. First of all, a conceptual design as a solution can only be if it has been piloted and tested, if it's functional, first of all. We are requesting that the solution is taken up, upscaled, at least in 1 year after the project, but the applicant shall tell us in the description of the solution how this upscale or taken up will take place. I hope I understood correctly the question. In case for step 2, we will include more ASPs. Can we increase the number of ICI? Yes. Of course, if you are increasing also the number of partners for the step 2, you have to increase also the target value of the indicator, of this indicator. Can I ask an assessment question? To what extent are the non-EU countries of the program area involved in the partnership? How are the 5 max points split? Just 1 second. This is an evaluation question that so the partnership, the score of the partnership is given by 2 questions, which have a weight in the total score of the partnership, which is 50-50. The general assessment of the partners, and then the assessment of the involvement of non-EU countries. In the applicant's manual, you have a table where you see the scoring of the projects. The 5 points that we are giving here are not split between anything. For example, we have a project that is addressing, let's say, Danube River as such, but doesn't involve Serbia or any of the other non-EU countries of the program area. This means that this project cannot receive a 5 points maximum in involvement of non-EU countries because it doesn't address the relevant partnership. You can see also in the applicant's manual what it is being assessed and to which extent. If, for example, the partnership is absolutely perfect, then the project can receive the maximum 5 points. But if we see that, yes, it involves one non-EU country, but it's a topic that could actually be addressed also by other non-EU countries, therefore the score will reflect this finding, which is a minus for the partnership. I hope it was clear. Must ASPs be located in the Danube area? No. ASPs can come also from outside the program area. If we plan pilot actions in the outputs, do we also need to define related solution or as an output within the same project specific objective? Thank you. Yes, if you have a pilot action or a testing, you have to define a solution because we are expecting that the solution will come out of the pilot action. The fact that you are defining it in the same specific objective or another, it depends on how you structure your project. It can be that it is in the same specific objectives if also the activities are leading in the same direction, or it can be in another specific objective. It's up to you. The important thing is that you define it. Can we count institutional members of the stakeholders groups as ICI if they're actively contributing to the project activities, meetings, events? No, because First, the institutions with increased capacities first time are linked with the organizations formally cooperating, which means that these organizations formally cooperating are either the partners, which are formalized by an application form, or if there is a memorandum of understanding signed with by different stakeholders of the project, they are formally cooperating. Therefore, these are counted. Or the ICI is also linked to the pilot actions. If there are stakeholders who participated actively in the pilot actions, then yes, they can be counted under ICI. But a mere participation in a meeting or in an event should not be counted under this result indicator. Are there any good practices observed in DTP when evaluating project cost efficiency? 50% staff, 10% travel, subcontracted less than 30% horizon. We do not have percentages set, or unless, of course, there can be this flat rates. But as a program, we do not have this kind of percentages. We are, first of all, that's why we are requesting the budget of the activities, because this reflects the value for money. We need to understand how much money are assigned to activities. And then we are also checking, not in the first step, because now in the EOI, we are just requesting the total budget of each partner. But in the second step, we are assessing also the distribution per cost category if it shows value for money, of course, but we do not have that 50% should be allocated for staff and for travel, as I said, unless we will use flat rates, which will be defined before the second step. Is it possible to change the amount of the budget between the EOI and the application in 2023? Yes, it will be possible to change the amount. We don't have a limit for this changing because we are allowing partners to be added to the project. Of course, the amount has to be reasonable and in line with the changes brought to the project. Does a pilot have to be tested in nature, or it can also be tested by computer simulation? We guess it can be tested also by computer simulation. The important thing is that a pilot is demonstrating the viability of the solution. It demonstrates that it works in practice. So if it is tested in nature or by computer simulation or in any other way, it is up to the partnership to decide. Does the lead partner need to have lead partner experience in the Danube program? No, we don't ask that the lead partner has experience in the Danube program, but we are at least for the first step, we are checking the partnership in general. In the second step, we check if the lead partner has some experience in ETIS Interreg projects, but we never rejected the project because the lead partner is not experienced. So we have quite some new lead partners. Is it possible to have a partner who is also our member of the association? For example, a region from a different country who is our member? Yes, I guess if it is an international organization and a member is organized association and they has member from other regions, yes, because these are two different legal entities. That's the condition, to be two different legal entities, and I guess they are. Is it like this? If we have pilot actions, we obligatory need to have also a common solution. So pilot action cannot derive from common strategy. Yes, a pilot action cannot derive from common strategy. We are not expecting strategies to be piloted. A pilot is only the outcome of a pilot can only be the solution, not the strategy. ICI, how intensive should involvement of these organizations be? If representatives are involved in capacity building workshop, will each person be counted? As I said before, if so this ICI is linked to organization cooperating across borders, so it's the partners. So and as you saw in the applicant's manual, we have we will give to the lead partners like questionnaire that will be applied at the end of the project to the project partners, ASPs, and people participating into pilots. And they will measure, based on the questionnaire, that questionnaire will measure the intensity of how intensive was the institutional capacity. So we already have prepared and this template, the lead partners will be instructed on how to apply it. And therefore, outcome of a workshop cannot be counted under ICI unless this workshop was a pilot action. Is it possible project partners or the lead partner and one project partner to be linked parties, one legal controlling the other? Again, for this, these questions relating to eligibility, we advise you to address the national contact points. From our perspective, if two bodies have separate legal statuses, so there are two separate legal entities, they are potentially can apply if they are eligible in line with the program rules, and this is a task of the national contact points. Then we have a question. If a partner is chosen from non-EU countries and is not fitting to one objective, can this have a negative impact to the evaluation? I'm afraid I don't really understand. What does it mean is not fitting the partner to one objective? If it is chosen a partner that is not relevant for the topic of the project, then yes, potentially can influence negative, because the partnership, we are assessing if the partnership is able to implement and achieve the project results. If an institution is not relevant, then it should not be involved in the project. Can an entity not be eligible as project partner but included as ASP? Yes, it can. ASPs, we do not have conditions. If the participants to pilot actions are people and not organization, how will they be counted? So first of all, maybe if you are referring to, if you are testing a training scheme, maybe on certain people, those people should not be counted. But during the testing of the training scheme, there can be some institutions that are not part of the partnership that are also going to be involved and observe. Maybe there will be some university involved because they will actually apply afterwards the training scheme, or other institutions. It should be only the institution's capacity measure, not the individual person. So the individual person should not be counted. If there are, I finished the questions on Slido. If you have any questions, there are some questions in the Q&A. One question is where on our website we will have the presentation. It will be in the first call page under next programming period. It's new funding opportunities, first call for proposal. Then we have another question. If we choose specific goal 3.3, can the main activities be related to tourism and cultural events and partner visits? My advice is that for content-related discussions, which should be more substantial, meaning that we need to understand the scope of the project proposal, the objectives, please address them to the colleagues that are responsible for the specific objectives. You can find their data on the website, and you can write to them and explain a bit more in detail what is your project proposal in order to get more focused advice related to the content of the project. Because like this, it's not, we cannot say that, yes, main activities can be related to many things, but it doesn't mean that the project will be positively assessed. There is one more question. Are study concepts funded, or do we need to implement them during project lifetime or within 1 year after? I will try to answer the question, but I don't know if I understand correctly. So if the project is developing a study, this is not necessarily that this is an output. It can be a deliverable, like a milestone within the project. Therefore, this will be used during project implementation to develop the output. A strategy developed needs to start to be implemented, as I said, at least 3 months after the project ended. So not the full strategy, but the implementation of the strategy should start during the project implementation or at the latest maximum 3 months after. So this is the rule that we have in the program. I hope I answered the question. If there are no more questions or nobody is raising the hand, then we can stop here and we can publish the presentations and the recording on the website. So thank you very much, and please contact us if you have any questions or we can give any advice for the project development, and good luck.